The other thing with the Super Bowl, I mean, there's always going to be the what if with Patrick Mahomes. The what if. I mean, this guy, I think, like, I'm ready to put him in like my top 3 right now already. Like, I think he's there. I'd rank him ahead of Aaron Rodgers. Like,
Yeah.
for my lifetime, it's Brady, Manning, and Mahomes. Like, as far as the guys that I've been able to watch. I was probably a little too young to like fully appreciate Joe Montana, but like I respect that he's up there. Mike Sky Otto Graham like is probably in there somewhere, but
my guy's right here. I could have worn my touchdown QB Eagles Tecmo Bowl shirt today. That's my guy, not Otto Graham.
But yeah, but my top 3, like my lifetime, are definitely those guys right now. But obviously, we've heard Sean Payton talk about how close they were forever. I've talked to people that were part of that process, and like Sean actually did like this guy ahead of the draft. Like, all this stuff is real. Like,
everybody says they were going to draft Pat Mahomes. The Saints really were going to draft Pat Mahomes.
They were really going to.
Only thing that stopped them from drafting Pat Mahomes was Marshawn Lattimore slipping. Like, those two guys, I think, were both ranked in their top 4. And they would, if either guy went at like 6, they would have traded up to 7 for the other guy. Yeah. Like, the only reason they stayed at 11 was because they would have been happy with Lattimore and Mahomes. Now, they might have ultimately taken Lattimore over Mahomes, but they went into that day thinking, right. But well, I mean, like, we've talked to everybody about it, and they don't ever know for sure because they never actually got to make the choice. Lattimore was higher on their board, but regardless, they went into that day thinking they were taking Mahomes, assuming that they thought Lattimore would go in the top 5, and they would be taking Mahomes at 11 or moving up a couple spots to take Mahomes. So this is a bona fide what if.
So how much different is it if they get him? Like, just top of the pyramid. Like,
they win. They go to these 3 Super Bowls and win them. Nobody disagrees with the fact that the Saints roster at every other position besides quarterback has been as good as any other roster in the NFL since 2017. For a while, it was the best roster at positions 2 through 53 in the NFL. And the last couple of years, it's been a good enough roster that I think they are the ones who go to at least 3 Super Bowls and win at least 2 Super Bowls if Pat Mahomes is their quarterback. I have no problem believing that.
So, all right, let's start at the top. Like, Sean Payton obviously is still the coach.
Yeah,
Pat Mahomes.
He's already in the Hall of Fame. They waived the 5-year rule because they think he's a QB whisperer, because nobody's going to be like, oh, well, Mahomes was a sure thing. They're going to be like, look at the development Sean Payton did with this guy, because people would have never realized that he was going to succeed no matter what.
Right. So Sean's still the coach. When does Drew leave? When do they push him out?
Okay, now
of here?
Here's the real what if that I've always wondered. So that 2017 Saints team started off horrible on defense. They gave up over 1,000 yards in the first 2 weeks. They were 0-2, got creamed by Minnesota, got creamed by New England, and gave up over 500 or like over 1,000 yards in 2 games. Now, they had also missed the playoff, or they had gone 7-9 3 straight years. Marshawn Lattimore was a huge reason why they turned things around and finally fixed that defense. There's a scenario where all they have to do, if Marshawn Lattimore made a 2-game difference, they missed the playoffs for the 4th straight year. I think Brees is gone.
Brees is. I think he's gone too.
I think they don't re-sign Drew Brees, and Mahomes takes over as a starter in 2018. And so that's a big. If they had gone, we used to talk about this. I remember this used to be one of our sideline conversations. Would it have been worth it to miss on Mahomes if they would have just won one more with Brees in 2018? No, I mean, obviously it wouldn't have. It would have been much better to have Mahomes or whatever, but that would have been a nice bow on the Brees, Peyton, or whatever. At least you would have had that, and not going to that. It's another reason why not going to the 2018 Super Bowl really, really, really hurts.
I think there's 2 things that happen that make them really bad that season, or at least worse than where they're at, and up the odds of them missing the playoffs, because I think they were desperate for a cornerback. Like, they had to get a cornerback at some point in that draft. So if you don't get Lattimore, you probably draft Kevin King at the end of the first round. Kevin King sucks. Like, he's out of the league. He's no longer a football player. That was a bust of a pick. His last season, I think, was in 21. Like, he just wasn't good.
You can't give him Tre'Davious White. They could have moved up.
No, I don't think. I mean, they might have, but let's existing in the reality of the situation. And then also Streif gets hurt and Ramczyk fills in for him. You don't have Ramczyk. Ramczyk was a big piece of that season. I think they're
huge.
I think their situation at tackle becomes a borderline.
So let's just say they missed the playoffs.
They missed the playoffs.
Yeah,
they missed the playoffs.
And they didn't hit on Ramczyk, which is a huge piece because, as we know, not only do you rarely get a first-team All-Pro at 32, you can go ahead and say, okay, well then next year let's draft the right tackle. You can miss on a lot of offensive linemen in the first round too. We've seen the Saints do it. So yeah, at the very least, now if you're really trying to sell yourself into this being okay, you've lost out on Lattimore and Ramczyk now.
I think you miss out on another guy too. Like Sean finds Taysom Hill at the end of that season doing his little scouting report of Max McCaffrey. If you got now, Breeze might have been gone, but maybe not. Like maybe you're looking at your QB depth chart. You aren't maybe looking for that Breeze successor because you have Pat Mahomes, so maybe you're passing on them. But you got there's two QBs I think that get affected by this. But you got Chase Daniel, Breeze, and Mahomes on your roster, so there's probably no room for Taysom Hill. And then also, that might end his career because his longevity in the league is because they figured out he worked on special teams, which I think bought him time to develop as a quarterback. Then he kind of gets this chance to become this all-purpose player because of it. But if Sean Payton never sees him, the Packers are probably only looking at him as a QB. They're showcasing him in the preseason. He's probably not good enough. If he gets another shot somewhere else, it's probably QB only. That first training camp, he passed like 30% in practice. Like, I don't think that he's in the NFL. There's a solid chance he's not in the NFL right now if they don't.
I think they still.
If they don't miss on Mahomes,
they still sign him, right?
Maybe
I don't
not.
remember. It was Chase Daniel that year in 17.
Yeah, they had Chase Daniel, Breeze, and then it would have been Mahomes. Yeah.
All right.
They might have signed him, but I don't know, man. Like, he signed him with this idea of like, I'm going to develop this guy into a
because it wasn't just putting him on the practice squad. They put him on the active roster.
Yeah.
You don't do that for a fourth QB.
There's at least a 50-50 chance that Taysom Hill's not
we're
in the
now
NFL.
Trading Lattimore, Ramczyk, and Taysom Hill for Mahomes, which is we're still doing it.
And one more guy. One more guy. They trade for Teddy Bridgewater.
What year did they trade for Bridgewater?
That was that 18 or 17? 17 or 18?
Not 17.
It was 18 then. So they trade for Teddy. They get Teddy on the team. Breeze gets hurt the next year. They talk him into sticking around and everything. He has the 5 wins. Like, his career is probably a little bit different. He's still in the league, obviously. He still gets his chances, but I don't know if he gets the same contract after that. I think that 5-game audition like changed his career a little bit and got him a little bit more money. He's ultimately in the place where he would have been anyhow, probably as a top-tier backup, but he got there a little bit later and got a little bit more money because they didn't draft Pat Mahomes. Like, he wouldn't have ended up here.
I like it all. I mean, this is just therapy for all the Saints fans who are like,
all right, let's keep going. So 18, they make
still not. It still hurts. It still hurts.
So 18, you go in the draft. They need a cornerback still. They still need a pass. They still need a pass rusher.
Oh gosh, you are really sweetening the pot. You're not now. All of a sudden, we're not trading for Marcus Davenport.
You're not trading for Marcus Davenport.
You are really catering to
they're still cornerback desperate. They're still cornerback desperate because the year after. Still with Lattimore, they were cornerback desperate, and they didn't answer that position until they got Jackrabbit. You know, they were up in the air. So they're still cornerback desperate. We know Kevin King isn't great. That was kind of apparent early on.
All right.
You know, and
you're losing me. I still say they were defensive end desperate. They were defensive end desperate.
There's 2 things I think happen. I think you draft your cornerback. I think they draft Alexander. I think they probably draft Alexander because you're picking earlier too. You don't have to move up to get him. And I think they
because you just missed the playoffs and you just let Drew Brees go.
Yeah.
So you're not necessily in all-in mode like
you're not all in. So I think you draft him.
Jair Alexander.
And I think they make that trade for Clowney. And I think Clowney, it kind of becomes the stopgap. It opens up then. I think Trey Hendrickson gets more opportunities. I think he ultimately ends up being the guy that sticks on the team long term.
Wow.
I think that's kind of how it plays out.
So we've lost Lattimore, Ramczyk, and Taysom Hill.
And Davenport.
But we've got Jair Alexander, Clowney, and so you swung it back around.
Yeah,
you know, for a minute there, you were making it okay that they missed out on Mahomes, and now you've made reality even better. Yeah.
Look, it can get worse. So they're a good team in 18. They're a good team in 18. So they're picking towards the end of the first round.
Sure,
maybe 32nd, maybe 31st, maybe 30th. They probably need a wide receiver.
In 19 now? The 19
The
draft?
19 because you have your 19 first round pick because you didn't trade it for Davenport.
Yeah. Who are we getting at the Hold on. What receiver are we drafting
well,
at
you're
the
hoping
end
it's not,
of the 2019?
You're hoping it's not
first
N'Keal
round?
Harry.
I can't remember because the Saints weren't in the mix that year, so I don't remember researching.
Debo and AJ Brown are in range. They're in range. You got a top tier quarterback. You're getting.
It
would
have been DK Metcalf. It would have been Peyton taking his shirt off with DK Metcalf at the combine during the interview. And that's who they would have gone with.
I mean, there's a lot of things that could have happened, though. There's a lot of things that could have happened that would have just completely changed the shit. Look, it's easy to kind of slot these things in, but like they do kind of make logical sense.
You know what, though? All that stuff makes logical sense, but I don't care. You can tell me any 10 names, replace any 10 names, and I still say they're going to 3 Super Bowls with Mahomes at quarterback.
That's all you need. That's all you need. Yeah.
And obviously they still have Cam Jordan. They still have Teron Armstead. They still have Alvin Kamara. They still have Michael Thomas. I mean, it's incredible. What we were almost covering. I mean, we were almost covering a dynasty.
Almost.
But instead, this is more fun because now we can.
No, it's not.
What's good team building? You know how boring it is? Like, we have a friend who covers the Chiefs. You know, it's just the same special sections every year. Didn't I write this story already? Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes going to Super Bowl for the 4th straight year. I mean, it's boring.
No, man. Give me it every single time. Every single time, man. Every single time. This would
Mahomes
be way more fascinating.
Mahomes, and that's the thing is, it's not just, hey, they could have had this quarterback. They could have had probably the most exciting, the potential to be the best, and definitely the most exciting quarterback I think we've ever seen. It's unbelievable.